The truth is, most people don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they get tired of starting over again and again. They quit because progress feels invisible, like running toward a horizon that never gets closer. Daniel knew that feeling too well. He had been chasing a dream for years, his own small company, something that mattered, something he could be proud of. But after countless failures, empty bank accounts, and promises to try one more time, he began to wonder if maybe life was trying to tell him to stop. That thought scared him more than failure itself. Every morning, he sat at the same desk, with the same cup of cold coffee and the same silent battle between try again and walk away. He used to believe that hard work always paid off. Now he wasn't so sure. One rainy Tuesday, he opened his laptop and stared at the blank screen for nearly an hour. His hands hovered over the keyboard, but his heart wouldn't move. Finally, he closed the lid, pushed his chair back, and said out loud, "Maybe that's it." He meant it. He left the apartment and started walking, nowhere in particular, just needing air. The city was gray and tired, the kind of gray that seeps through your skin. He passed a small café, and on its fogged window, someone had written 3 words with a fingertip. "Don't give up." He almost laughed. How cliché. How useless. But for some reason, he stopped. Maybe because the words looked like they were written for him, or maybe because deep down he still wanted to believe them. He went inside and ordered coffee he couldn't afford. The barista smiled and said, "Rough day." Daniel nodded. She pointed at the window. "That was me," she said. "I write it every morning. Someone always needs to see it." He smiled weakly. "Maybe that someone was me today." She shrugged. Then it worked. Something in that small exchange, a stranger's quiet kindness, felt heavier than all the motivational books he'd read. When he got home, he didn't open his laptop. Instead, he took a pen and wrote those 3 words on a piece of paper. He taped it above his desk. "Don't give up." That night, he didn't work. He rested. He watched the rain and decided that maybe he wasn't finished. Just tired. The next morning, he sat at his desk again. The words stared back at him. He whispered them like a promise. "Don't give up." Then he opened his laptop and did one small thing. Replied to a single email he had been avoiding for weeks. It wasn't much, but it was movement. He started showing up like that every day, doing one thing no matter how small. Sometimes it was a full day of work, sometimes just 10 minutes. But every time he wanted to quit, the note on the wall pulled him back. Weeks passed. One afternoon, he received an email from a potential investor. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. It was "let's talk." He couldn't believe it. The meeting didn't change everything, but it changed him. Because now, even if the world said no, he finally believed he could say try again. That night, he called his sister. "I almost gave up," he said. She laughed softly. "Almost doesn't count, Danny. I'm proud of you." He smiled. "You'd be prouder if you saw how messy my courage looks." Courage, she said, was never supposed to look clean. Months later, the cafe closed down. When Daniel passed by, the window was empty. No message, no reminder. But the words still lived in him. He started leaving his own notes around the city, in elevators, on benches, on mirrors in public bathrooms. Small pieces of paper with simple lines. "Keep going. You're closer than you think. It's okay to rest, but not to quit." He never signed them, but sometimes he returned to find new notes in the same places, replies from strangers. One said, "I saw your note. I didn't quit today." He kept that one in his wallet. 1 year later, Daniel's business wasn't perfect, but it was alive. He had clients, a small team, and something he hadn't felt in years: peace. During an interview, someone asked him, "What kept you going when things got hard?" He smiled. "A stranger, a window, and 3 words. Don't give up?" The interviewer asked. Daniel nodded. "Yeah, but not in the motivational poster way. In the real way, the kind where you cry a little, rest a lot, and then get up anyway." He paused and added, "People think success is about strength, but it's not. It's about returning." A few months later, on another rainy morning, Daniel was walking to work when he saw a woman standing outside a coffee shop, shoulders slumped, eyes red. She looked like someone fighting a silent war. He hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded napkin. On it were 3 familiar words, ones he had written for himself hundreds of times before. He handed it to her and smiled gently. She looked at it, confused at first, then her lips trembled into the smallest smile. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. "You never know who needs to hear it." Then he walked away, rain tapping softly on his jacket, heart lighter than it had been in years. That night, before going to sleep, Daniel stood by his window and looked at the city lights. He thought about the cafe, the barista, the note, and the hundreds of strangers who had read 3 simple words and kept going for one more day. He whispered them once more, this time not for himself, but for anyone who might need them. Don't give up. Because maybe, somewhere out there, someone was standing in front of a blank screen, ready to quit, just like he once did. And maybe those words would reach them the same way they once reached him. Maybe that's how hope travels, from one tired soul to another, quietly, invisibly, and right on time. And if life ever pushed him to that edge again, he knew what he'd do. He'd whisper the same 3 words, take one deep breath and try again. Because quitting was easy. But believing even just a little longer, that was where strength lived.